The Receipts icon within Inventory Control is where items are received from vendors, typically if the purchase order module is not integrated. If the purchase order module is in use, receipts should be entered there, so the vendor invoice is generated automatically. As with other transaction entry windows in Accpac, the word new indicates that the system creates a new transaction, a receipt in this case, to utilize the next sequential receipt number found within IC options. A specific receipt number can be entered if necessary. Optionally, enter a description, such as June receipts, and the system automatically displays the date Accpac was started within the receipt date. The posting date determines the fiscal year-end period assigned when transactions reach the general ledger. Optionally, enter a vendor number. However, doing so does not generate an invoice in accounts payable. The purchase order module is required to generate a vendor invoice, of which then the receipt has to be entered within that module. Entering a vendor number here simply defaults to any vendor item costs that have been established for items within the vendor details icon, as well as defaults to the vendor's currency if multi-currency is used. Optionally indicate a purchase order number. If multi-currency is installed and if it is activated for use with inventory, enter the currency code based on the receipt being entered. If a vendor number was entered above, the system will default to the vendor's currency. If the currency entered is not the functional currency, the system displays the associated exchange rate for the date entered. The rate can be overridden if necessary. The same is true with any additional costs, such as shipping or handling fees, that are being entered. Select the currency code and then enter the amount of the additional cost. The system prorates the additional cost to the items on the receipt, based on the cost of the items. To have Accpac default to print item labels, click this box. The printing of item labels is determined at the detail level, so this just determines the default settings for each detail line when they are added. Then enter the items to be received in the lower section of the window. Either manually enter the item number, select it from the folder, or use a manufacturer's item number if they were defined, such as the manufacturer's item number 123. The next field identifies the location where the item is to be received and the quantity being received. Then either accept, enter, or use the folder to enter the unit of measure associated with the quantity. The system displays the most recent cost associated with this item, either from the vendor selected or the cost from the item at this location. The cost can be accepted, or if the cost is different, change it. The system then displays the extended amount, multiplying the quantity by the cost. Then, prompts for the number of labels to be printed. Entering 24 indicates that a case contains 24 eaches, so 24 labels may be required to allow the items to be sold separately. Optionally, enter a line item comment. The manufacturer's item number field is populated showing the cross-reference if a manufacturer's item number was referenced in the item number field earlier, as it was here, this 123. And then, enter any item-specific optional fields if that module is installed and integrated. Repeat the process for each item to be received. If a FIFO or LIFO item is being received, the system creates a bucket associated with the receipt date. During the entry of the receipt, click the Save button at any time to save the transaction. Selecting the Save button retains the receipt without it being posted, possibly because it isn't complete yet, but other tasks need to be performed in the interim. If saved, the receipt can be recalled by entering or selecting the appropriate receipt number, identified at the top of the window. When the receipt is complete, click the Post button. Depending on the prompt to delete during the posting setting within IC options, this message will be displayed. Selecting Yes removes the receipt details from the system. If Yes is selected, it is not possible to recall the receipt for inquiry purposes or to make an adjustment against it later. Selecting No retains the receipt for future inquiry or adjustments. If preferred, this dialog box can be eliminated by clearing the Prompt to Delete During Posting option within IC Options. Therefore, all receipts are automatically saved as a default. They can be removed manually later, either by clearing them within the Clear History icon or individually by entering the receipt number that was used when posted, and then selecting the Complete option from the Type field here. Notice in addition to the Complete option, there is a Return and Adjustment option. The Return option allows items to be returned that existed on the original receipt, either all or a portion. First, indicate how any additional cost assigned to the items being returned should be handled. As discussed earlier, when discussing this option within the IC Options icon, Leave instructs Accpac to leave the additional cost amount with the item number being returned, where Prorate instructs Accpac to distribute the additional cost assigned with the items being received to any other items on the receipt. If there were two different items on this receipt and only one item is being returned, the Prorate option reallocates any additional cost assigned to the item from the original receipt to the other item that's being kept. Once selected, enter the quantity being returned in the Quantity Returned column. Selecting the adjustment type indicates that a cost adjustment is desired. Either the additional cost amount can be changed, or the cost associated with a particular item can be changed, or both at the same time. For example, if the invoice is received from a vendor that the shipping charges were $12 instead of $10, or there was a cost increase in one of the items. When a return or adjustment is finished, like before, click the Post button.
Let's take a look at shipments.